Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously, enough be spoken on the application and stuff like that. I just sort of taking a couple of times, some time of yours in terms of taking through the other assets of application itself, which is nothing but APIs. So in the era of digital economy and digital transformation, the conversation becomes completely sort of inconclusive if you don't talk about APIs. Because that is the way, I think Judge also sort of mentioned that in every nook and corner, if you want to make any payment or any transaction, any transformation that you could see, it doesn't happen without an API. So slowly we are getting into an era of economy, in a sense that our complete business strategy, everything is revolving around APIs. What is that exposed outside and inside becoming very, very critical, and that is becoming a threat vector for all. While we speak of ransomwares and stucknecks and stuff like that, API is also becoming a very, very valid threat vector for you to sort of for you to be worried about. So let me take a couple of some time of yours, making sure that I take you through how do we intend to sort of protect that API economy that you would have invested. Make sure that we also enable for you on a security front and stuff like that. And that is what my next 15 minutes that I'm going to speak of. Now, if you see the economy, the API economy itself, it is estimated to be somewhere around $30 billion industry by 2028. And that is what something that we are focusing much on. But if you see that, is that secured enough? You see those particular attacks, obviously you would have seen multiple facets in terms of the ransomwares and stuff like that. But this is a unique set of attacks that is being targeted towards your APIs. The guy sitting inside your APIs, scooping out the data or monitoring the API conversation, taking out the information and actually sort of exfiltrating that data out. So that is what the threat that we wanted to sort of address. And we as a company, we are investing heavily in this particular area, making sure that your APIs are well protected in all senses. But if you see the common element of all these attacks, right? If you see, obviously you get to see all these on the web, but the end objective of these attacks are data exfiltration. This is the only way that they're scooping out the data, because they know that enterprises are putting more and more security controls around it. And at the same time, they're taking the back door, coming inside your network, sitting as part of your Kubernetes cluster, monitoring the API conversation, make sure that they scoop out the data and exfiltrate outside. And that is what the common element that you get to see from an exfiltration standpoint. So what we call in Imperva standards, in Imperva language, which is called as data is a new oil. That is where that you pump it out, you make sure that you capitalize on that particular data, which is being extracted out of the API conversation, and still, if you observe today, it is leastly protected, at least outside of certain regulated industries. And it needs to be protected both from an internal and external threat perspective, and that is what we are focusing much on. So, around a couple of years back, we came out with this approach called as all paths to data. In a sense that wherever there is a hop to reach that particular data, we are trying to protect it. And that is what our approach towards, and that's what the mantra that we took it out. But afterwards, obviously, you saw the technologies which is being spoken on the security operations side, XDR side, and stuff like that. But later, we started realizing that analysts are overwhelmed with the data. They are overwhelmed with the alerts that is being bumped across. They don't know how to prioritize the data. So we also get into something called as risk analytics on top of these breaches. It means to say that we actually do an ML machine learning algorithm on all these data. We also do a user and entity behavior analysis across the data, and it's being used, specifically keeping the data and the user in the perspective. So if you see that, if someone is trying to log in as a DBA, trying to extract certain information outside of a database, and it is happening somewhere in the 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, then we are here to sort of alert you on an anomalous, making sure that instead of pumping you with hundreds of data, hundreds of incidents, we scoop out that which is very, very critical for you to actually sort of identify the data and incident and act on it very fastly. But if I take a step backwards in terms of the breach itself, before he reaches, API is becoming another vector. And that is what the conversation that I wanted to sort of put it across. So if you see today, the developers, the way that they're developing the APIs and the applications, they're making use of a lot of open source codes. They are connecting backwards to a lot of other things like GitHubs and stuff like that to actually sort of take out those Kubernetes cluster and run it on their environment. So no one is aware that what a set of the APIs that I'm running inside your environment. So the essential ingredient that is required for you to run it is discover those APIs. One is north-south and otherwise east-west APIs that has been actually sort of captured. So one, the discovery side of things. The second thing is obviously audit and verify. When you say audit, it is not only discovering those APIs, what is that API is being conversed upon? What sort of a data that is being exchanged across? The thing that we have observed so far is usually the north-south part of the traffic is very well protected of all the security controls that you have put in place. But if you see the east-west traffic, which is barely sort of ignored, because apni ghar ki kehti hai, so I mean, obviously we keep changing information, and this is my API sitting inside my LAN and stuff like that. And that is where it's opening up a lot of doors for the malicious intenders, I mean, in terms of scooping out the data. So what we intend to do is first discover the APIs, whether it is north-south or east-west. At the same time, what is the API conversation is happening? What sort of a sensitive information that has been conversed upon? And that's what something that we intend to do. The third aspect is detect anomaly itself. You know that, I mean, obviously SQL injection is well known. I mean, that's something which you would have heard it from an application perspective. That's also an attack vector from an API standpoint too. So anyone can send any sort of parameter, which is spoofing it as a specific parameter. If it is a string, then you're going to send out certain SQL and stuff like that, try to scoop out the data as well. So what we intend to do is identify those parameters, any sort of anomaly that has been detected, which is not a usual conversation between the APIs, and we try to sort of detect and give you those particular data. And remediate. Obviously, I cannot sit idle with the visibility controls, right? Somewhere that I need to somewhere that I need to talk to any of the backend systems, make sure that I kill that particular thing out then and there itself. And that is where the remediation comes into the play. So this is what the API protection framework that we offer from a Imperva standpoint. Obviously, when you come to the larger piece of Imperva, you get to see the application that is obviously the conventional web application firewall protection and stuff like that. We also embark machine learning algorithms across all these technologies, making sure that we are scooping out only that is matter the most, instead of actually sort of giving you tons of alerts to work you upon. And obviously, digital transformation, everything becomes again incomplete when you think of cloud security. So the data today is not only lying on the on-prem, it also sort of stays in the cloud as well. So we intend to sort of cover that aspect as well in terms of providing you all sort of assets and controls across the cloud. So it's not us who are saying it, analysts who are actually sort of marking us as a leader across all the segments and all the controls that we offer across this. So that's what something that analysts that we intend to. And we are leaders in all the quadrants and all the analyst report, so to speak. And it is not only the Gartner, this is a proof point. The number of customers that they are adopting our technology across is basically what the slide speaks. So around a couple of years back, I mean, Imperva was only around 2-3 man company, but today we have grown to an extent of 40-50 people. We have a strong sales of around 15 people in the country who are actually sort of managing and supporting these customers across. And that is what something that I wanted to sort of pass the message on. And with that, I would like to sort of conclude my presentation before the time. And for any more information, please visit our booth, and we'll be more than happy to share our information, our experience on API security. Thank you so much.